Hey everybody, welcome to the 1947 Rise podcast, a podcast that helps India-born, US-trained Indians get integrated into the Indian technology ecosystem and inspires them to move back to India to build massive tech companies and or help enable the tech ecosystem. We do this by interviewing India-born, US-trained Indians who have moved back to India and built massive tech companies themselves and or helped enable the tech ecosystem.
Awesome. I'm excited to have Abhinav of OYO on 1947 Rise podcast. Abhinav, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Shiva. Glad to be here.
Abhinav, let's start by talking about your background. Your walk us through your journey from growing up in India to moving to the US and then moving back to India.
Well, I have sort of two halves to my life. One is a more traditional one. So let me just walk you through it. I was born and brought up in Ranchi. It was part of Bihar earlier and now Jharkhand. And, spent my early years there, and then for college went to Kharagpur. And of course wanted to be in a bigger city, but ended up, in fact, in a smaller town than Ranchi. But it was a lot of fun, and then graduated Kharagpur and joined. My first job was with ITC. Special part for me for ITC was that I started off in manufacturing, and I really loved the whole aspect of being accountable for something on a day-to-day basis, leading teams, and basically stuck on. So 4 years at ITC, and that's what I did, manufacturing. And it gave me a lot of responsibility and set me up, especially on the people leadership dimension. But then 4 years down the line, I realized that, having been a factory guy, you are 26 and all that you have done is basically led factories. So I thought, there is more to it outside. And, of course, a lot of great things were happening. This is back in 2007. So I decided to pursue my MBA, and that is when I applied to colleges in the US and got into HBS, and then moved out of India and went to the US. So that's how the movement from India to the US happened. And of course, I was super excited. 2 years at business school, and those were transformative. They really exposed me to the world of entrepreneurship. I tried my hands at a few things. Right after business school, came back to India to again, explore my own venture. This was 2009. I wish I had stuck on, but I had a job with BCG, and paying your student debt without any income from India ain't that fun at all, especially when the debt is dollar denominated. So I moved back to the US late 2009 and started my stint with BCG. In the US. And about 3 years in, I realized that, my calling was still not being a consultant, and I really wanted to be back in India and really wanted to be more entrepreneurial. I was, my student loans were mostly taken care of, and that's when I decided to move back to India again. So I quit BCG and moved back to India end of 2013. And basically spent about 6 months just figuring out what I would like to do. Met a ton of people because I've technically, if you include the business school years, I'd been away from the country for about 6-7 years. So, in this process, I ran into Ritesh, and Ritesh had just pivoted from building Oravel to building OYO. And he had just raised a seed round as well. So, that's when I was really excited by the potential of OYO, really excited by the type of person and the energy and the vision of Ritesh. And since then, I've been working with him. So, that's pretty much what my story is in short. So went to the US in 2007, 2 years at business school, came back for about 6 months, then again went back, then again about 3.5 years at BCG. And then end of 2013, I came back to India. So that's my story.
India. And what was your thought process, Abhinav, when you decided that you were going to move back to India?
Yeah, of course, this decision, such decisions are always very personal as well. So let me start with the personal side. On the personal side, I did not have any family in the US, and my parents are here in Bombay, and my wife's parents are here in NCR region, and therefore, for both of us, it was very clear that we would like to be in a place which is very easily accessible to both of them, in a place where we can spend a lot of time with both of them. And we really wanted to start a family, and the right place just seemed to be India. So that was a very clear decision, and it was almost a very strong independent decision on the profession, not related to the professional side at all. But on the professional side as well, you both sides have to really go hand in hand and work together. On the professional side, especially having spent time in the US, 2 years at business school, and then plenty of time at BCG, I realized that you get to learn a lot. Everything is so much more structured and more process oriented. You get to learn a lot. You get to learn the art of communication. Get to learn the art of building culture in teams. But I felt that, especially as a leader, your potential is limited because, or rather, I would say your potential as a leader really depends upon how quickly you integrate into a new culture and how quickly you integrate into the American culture. So for people who integrate super quickly into the American culture, your ability to be a big leader and a good leader really depends upon the cultural aspects of working with the team and really driving them and understanding them as well. And I thought that my leadership potential was exponentially better in an Indian setup. And that was something which was always at the back of my mind, which was critical for me to make a move. And I can imagine that, what opportunities I got in India with OYO, things would have been, of course, your ability to build a team depends a lot on, your prior connections and your ability to understand the talent environment, and, your ability to connect for 30 minutes and really assess people. A lot of those have very strong cultural underpinnings. And, I was glad that I moved back to India for that reason.
Move back then. Yeah, let's dive into your journey after moving back. How did OYO come about? You said you met Ritesh, but would like to have you elaborate more on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, let me tell you that, if you are away from the US, you might feel that you are connected with everyone, but pretty much, everyone else knows that you are not around. So, the type of social integration you have is, to best put it, is still very weak. So for me, when I got back, almost 3 to 4 months were just spent in connecting with people, letting them know that I'm back in India. That is a big deal. A lot of people reach out for opportunities in India from the US, but only a handful of people are actually back in India. So if you're back in India, the response from the other side is meaningfully different. So I got opportunities, I got audience with a lot of people. I spent a lot of time meeting VC funds, meeting friends who were starting up or who had started up. And in one of these interactions, I ended up chatting with a very old buddy of mine who I had worked together with at ITC and who was now at Lightspeed. Was then at Lightspeed. 2013, he was at Lightspeed. So we chatted together, and he told me about this, his first investment. So he joined Lightspeed, and the first investment he made was OYO. And he talked to me about this wonder kid, 18-year-old, and visionary, and building something in the hospitality space. And he asked me if I would be interested to fly over to Delhi and spend some time meeting Ritesh. And I was literally doing nothing, and that was my full-time job, like travel and meet people. So that was not a very tough decision to make. And I flew down to Delhi, and what was a one-day trip turned into a 4-day visit. And I met Ritesh. Ritesh made me stay. I think OYO had 4 hotels then, or 3 hotels then, all in Gurgaon.
Mm-hmm.
And Ritesh made me stay at the worst hotel of the 3. And I realized what he's doing. I realized the value creation that is happening. I realized how tough of a business this is. I spent time with Anuj, another founding team member who was with Ritesh. I liked the team, I liked the purpose, but most importantly, on the personal side, something really clicked with me. I could sense that, as part of a middle class family, my father was a government servant, and growing up in a small town like Ranchi, in our early years, we used to travel, maybe once in 3 4 years, and we used to travel and visit places where someone we knew stayed there.
Mm-hmm.
So the buzz in the family would be like, oh, my chacha is posted in Dehradun, and everyone would flock over to visit Dehradun and Masuri. And then, my bua was in Bombay, so everyone would take turns and visit Bombay, right? And then I realized that a large part of that, I chatted with my parents, and a large part of that was just my parents never had the idea or the trust to really, stay in budget hotels. You did not have the money to stay in 3 star and 5 star hotels, and you just did not even consider as a family the option of staying in budget hotels because of all the bad experiences that my father had as a traveler, etc. And then lo and behold, it changes the whole ecosystem. It changes how children grew up. We did not grow up traveling a lot, right? And it was not just about the means, and that was a big insight for me. And for me, I thought there was an opportunity for OYO as a business to really change how India travels, to really open up the whole economy from a travel perspective, make it accessible to more and more people across the length and breadth of the country, and do that while delivering great customer experiences, while building a really phenomenal business model while doing that. And of course, Ritesh played a big role. Ritesh, as an 18-year-old, Ritesh, it was very clear that he was special, right? I had not interacted per se with many 18-year-olds. Of course, I was an 18-year-old someday, and then you had friends who were 18-year-old back then. But once you are a 30-year-old, you don't really have memories of really spending time and interacting with 18-year-olds. And
Mm-hmm.
I was really left mesmerized with his clarity and his
Yeah.
just the breadth of understanding that he had of his own business, but also of India. And that was it. I thought a lot of legs in the business model, an amazing way to create impact. And even though I did not have any experience in hospitality at all, I think both Ritesh and I thought that that would not matter as much.
That would not. And your friend's name was Maninda Gulati, right?
That's right. So this was Maninder.
Yeah.
Maninder was at Lightspeed. Maninder and I actually started at ITC in 2003 on
Mhm.
4th June 2003 on the same day.
Yeah.
So we were sitting in the
Mhm.
same room as 20, 21, 22-year-olds. And when in 2014, summer of 2014 or early summer of 2014, we had this conversation. This was a 11-year-old friendship already. So when he
Yeah.
proposed something to me, of course, it carried a lot of weight.
That's right. Yeah. Abhinav, where are we today?
Well, it's almost 7 years now. It's early summer of 2021 from 2014 now. Of course, a lot of water has flown under the bridge. Uh, Ritesh has proven to be truly, visionary, and he has delivered a lot more than the promise that 18-year-old, had in
Yeah.
front of me back then. So on that front, of course, I feel the first special thing is just having spent time with him over the last 7 years and having learned so much from him on a day-to-day basis. I built the India business working very closely with Ritesh. Maninder joined OYO as well about a year and a half down the line in 2015. So that was a great move. He's a phenomenal professional, and to have him as part of the team was awesome. So initial 3 to 4 years, Ritesh and I worked together, of course, with Maninder and the rest of the team to build out the leadership team, to build out the all the layers and the capabilities in the organization, and that was very special because we are pretty much doing it everything from scratch. Then I got some special opportunities. I launched and built the Southeast Asia business, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines for OYO. Then got to launch the UK business for OYO, and then the US business. So pretty much I happened to be the person who signed the first deals, recruited the first people, built out the teams, and pretty much charted the 0 to 1 path for OYO in all these new geographies as well, which was a phenomenal experience. And of course, last 2 years have been an integral part of this journey. COVID came along, and for anyone in the hospitality business, it has not been very pleasant. But good thing for us that our business model has become much stronger. We have become much leaner. Of course, across different geographies, we have faced different challenges of, most recent being this huge second wave in India, but we are super resilient. The leadership team has all stuck together, which is amazing. And now I've taken on a new role of, in addition to being the global chief operating officer, I've taken on the responsibilities of the chief product officer. And, we have really, innovated a lot over the last 18 months, solving problems through product and really building efficiencies through product, which has really improved our P&L. And, we are in a very healthy state with the recovery, which already had happened in India. We are doing very well. India is a profitable business. Our European business is a profitable business. So a lot of things are going well. But yeah, on my journey personally, I'm very excited about, learning more and becoming a great product leader now. And, I spend a lot of time these days making sure that I'm up to the mark there.
Let's talk about some fun stuff, Abhinav. Favorite stories at OYO?
Yeah, there are so many. There are so many of them. Of course, when you are in the trenches and building the company, things happen every day. Every day is so eventful. Favorite stories at OYO. Let me start with one of the first ones. This is when I joined OYO, and must have been the first couple of months, and we were just starting to hire the team. And as you would relate to it, getting the first 4 or 5 people in is the most challenging. And then, things just move forward and grow exponentially because you want to get people in who themselves can recruit good talent. So I was very keen and focused on getting really top-notch people in. And I remember this first conversation. There is an awesome leader. He spent almost 6+ years at OYO and recently moved on. So we were recruiting him, and I found his resume on AngelList. And AngelList primarily used to be a portal to find great startup talent back then.
Thank you, Abhinav.
It's a true story. And we started interviewing, and it was me and Anuj. And I looked at the profile and I was like, I just have to hire this guy. And this interview is like actually a reverse interview. Like I would like him to ask questions, not the other way around. Mm-hmm. And I would ask a question, and this guy would take it like very seriously and would answer the whole question. And while this was happening, we would both put the conversation on mute at our end, and we would just like, talk about other things which are going on. And at our end, we were so sold that we need to recruit this guy because that we were not even listening to what the guy was saying. So for us, it was like, you can answer this question, but for me, it's all about the offer. So how soon can we move to that stage? So those were the days, and comparing that interview to many others which we took later on, where you have to hone down the process of really, how do you assess a candidate, and it's just fun to see. And then, of course, I think a lot of great stories, but we had more than the stories. It's I would say, small traditions that you build that stick on with you and really leave good memories. So me, Anuj, and Ritesh would spend almost every dinner. It would be really late in the evening, usually past midnight, and we would go to a OYO hotel.
Hmm.
which is in Uppal South End. It's the plot name is S167, and that's what we would call it, S167. And we would basically go there and have late dinner and 2 to 3 hour conversations on every day and planning for the rest of the week. And those used to be the most fun moments where a lot of cool ideas came about. A lot of important decisions got made, over basically, good Indian food. So those were the fun days.
Yeah. So back in 2018, August 15th, you tweeted, "Never been a better time to build a company in India. Those contemplating a move back home hope this IND day is the inflection point." So, with this, Abhinav, let's dive into the advice to India-born, US-trained Indian section, where people who are thinking about moving back to India. So, what should they work on? If you had recently moved back to India, what would you work on? India is a lot different than what it was when you moved back.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. I think India is different, but let me first share that the premise is only stronger now, way stronger.
Yeah.
India is on track to be a substantial part of the global economy. You keep looking at data, and India would be the third largest economy in about 10 to 12 years from now, and India would be the second largest economy in about 30 years from now. And all those data aside, the reality is that despite all the challenges, the growth story of India, the growth story of technology in India is here to stay, right? And the questions about, is the Indian market deep enough? The questions about, can global companies be built from India? From my perspective, these questions have already been answered. So, in some ways, this is the time when there are minimal risks, minimal macro risks with this move, and tremendous upside, right? And this is it. And the journey, if you think about it, if you say that this journey started maybe in 2010, and if you say that this journny is going to take another 30 years, you are maybe 20-25% into this journey. So it's still very, very early, right? Still very early. So that's the first thing. The second for me is most people who are looking at this. I think you mentioned that who are already in India. I will come to that, but I think most critical, anyone who is already considering. I think if you look at the funnel, if 100 people are considering, I would dare to say, having been in that situation, that maybe only 5 actually move back and they are in India. So for those 100 who are actually considering, I think being there is nothing you will do really, really well. The first and foremost thing is just to be committed and make the plunge. Understanding opportunities in India while sitting outside India is just really difficult.
Yeah.
It is exactly the same. It is the same as if you are considering opportunities in the US, being outside the US. Not many people are going to entertain you. Not many people are clear about, how serious are you for moving back to India, and therefore the investment of the time that you get from other people is always limited. So just being committed, I think your opportunities at least increase 10x if you are very clear and if you are super committed and you can communicate that. And the best way to communicate that actually is to be back in India. Uh,
Back in India.
so that's clearly something that I've seen. No point being on the fence, because if you evaluate opportunities being on the fence, you will not get exposed to the best opportunities. You will
The
not get
best
time
opportunity.
from the ecosystem, and therefore you will evaluate and say that, hey, opportunities for me are not there.
Yeah.
So it's important to just commit yourself. And
Yeah.
once you're back, I think I would go on to say that this is again, as everyone should know, this is an ecosystem with a lot of great talent. So the
Hmm.
first expectation, as an expectation setting, I would say that a lot of people come back from the US saying that, hey, I'm from XYZ college, or hey, I worked at XYZ firm. I think with all humility, one should acknowledge that that only has limited value in the Indian ecosystem, and therefore you have to adapt what you have learned to really bring out the value you bring to the Indian ecosystem. Just because you're from a certain college or just because you're from a certain firm, in today's India does not attach a lot of value to it, right? But
Yeah.
the specific knowledge that you bring, for example, if you have spent X number of years as a senior data science leader, if you have built and nurtured a product which is used by millions of individuals, if you have built global products, if you have built and led global teams, right? If you have owned and built out customer service for a startup or even a late stage startup, these are specific skills which become suddenly extremely valuable, right? And these are, it doesn't mean that you need to get your first job or your first gig in these specific areas, but these make you more real. These, the value that you bring is more about the specific experience and the specific knowledge than about being associated with a company or an institution, which is, in my opinion, more generic. So yeah, and that's something that you need to acknowledge. And India is still, was always unique and is still unique. So once you are in India, just getting to know India well, India is changing very fast. If you go to tier 3, tier 4 cities in India, uh, the of course 60% of the population is under 25, and how those consumers, how those 25 under 25-year olds behave is very different now. People are all on Instagram and TikTok, and they have all the information and all the visibility. They are investing in Bitcoin, and they are
Yeah.
reading novel, and they are doing everything. So that I've seen tends out to be something that people coming back from anywhere outside India take some time to observe and absorb. And the sooner you do that, the sooner you get to know the new India, the better it is, because you're just more effective. The cultural context is super critical in just making yourself more valuable. So those are the things I would say that you got to prepare on, and just be more realistic and approach this without, I would say, any sense of privilege.
Abhinav, in hindsight, what do you think you learned from your experience in the US that you were able to implement in India? It ended up becoming very valuable in India.
Yes, I think I did learn a few things, which maybe there are opportunities now to learn in India, but I felt the opportunities in US were more abundant and more systematic, and most of these, I would say, are on the softer side. Um, First, I would call out and say that I think the Indian ecosystem, Indians, it's apologies for the large generalization, but Indians and even Indian professional setups are not very well suited to teach people on how to handle conflicts. And conflict resolution and how you handle conflicts in US, like every other situation, is a core skill, and there's a process around it, and you are almost taught that skill, right? And I felt that in India you stumble upon those skills through your past mistakes, whereas in US you sort of, you get to learn about it, right? And as a consultant, I ran into these tough situations where you need to get things done from the client, and it's not really easy to work with them. And then the institution, BCG as an institution, had a way to teach you about how to handle conflicts and how to handle tough people situations. And that to me was a very important skill, because when you're building a company from scratch, you have like conflicts within team members, conflicts in the leadership, conflicts with the external world all the time. So this is one skill which I would call out. The second I would call out, um, I think as a leader in the US, you pay a lot of emphasis on communication. Uh, Culturally, the whole aspect of communication just rolls out again as a process, right? You write weekly update emails, you hold town halls, and you do one-on-ones. And I think a lot of this is just becoming a part of the Indian startup ecosystem as well, but it is still not muscle memory. It is still learned, and it is still sort of something that you do or some people do. It is not something that comes naturally at the organization level, right? And I see that this emphasis on communication and emphasis on it's broader than communication. I would say sharing the vision and making sure that everyone understands the vision and making sure that everyone is thinking and running in the same direction. This is a soft skill that the US ecosystem builds very seamlessly, right? So I would call out these two by far, were critical skills that I thought served me very well as I started building the team and leading teams at OYO.
Yeah. Abhinav, we are getting into my favorite section now, getting to know you at a deeper level. So, how has a failure or apparent failure set you up for later success? Do you have a favorite failure of yours?
Well, I will start answering that question, but I always, when a question of a failure comes around, I want to call out and say that I believe I've been very lucky, and God has been very kind to me, and things have usually fallen in place. And it's critical to acknowledge that, because I would look back and say that I've had many more moments where I've just been lucky and things have worked in my favor than the moments where I would say that I tried hard and failed, right? And just that puts things in perspective. But in terms of failures, I would say there have been several, and you got to take them in your stride and move on. And I think when I reflect back, I think the biggest I would say virtue has been just ignorance. I did not realize that how big a failure that was. And I just moved on. I just, chugged along. And that has been the biggest asset. I think I reflect back in hindsight that if I thought this was a big failure, maybe it would not have been such a good thing for me. So just, there is a book I read long back. It's called The Art of Possibilities, and it's a book by Benjamin Zander. And he talks about in that book there is a quote that says that always remember rule number 6, and that rule basically is that don't take yourself too seriously, right? And then he goes on to say that basically there are no other rules. There is only one rule, and that's the rule number 6, right? That's what Benjamin says, right? And I think this is something which I strongly associate with growing up in India. You definitely move around quite a lot. A lot of people like me have been, and I've come from middle class families, and pretty much have changed cities, have run after opportunities, and pretty much, we are okay with failures. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We are always looking towards the future. So all that gyan aside, let me talk to you about, I think, I would say that in business school, I was already very lucky in a great place, but in business school, I went in as I would say, a more underconfident person, knowing that, hey, everyone around me would be brilliant. And come the summer placement season, which is upon you as soon as you start at business school, I didn't get any offers, but I tried everything. I sat in every interview, and I pretty much got rejected from every place that I applied to, and including all the consulting firms. And that to me was, at that moment, I thought, oh, wow, this is like, it's really tough. And it was tough, but I think it is more about the confidence. That was a failure that set me up. I started really thinking about, hey, why do I need to just like, what am I doing? Why am I applying everywhere? What do you really want to do, right? And what do you need to do to become good at that, right? How do you? And then I started asking those questions, and I said that this is an amazing opportunity. This is what I know. I don't know much about early stage companies, so let me intern at an early stage company. So I took that up as an opportunity. I interned at a very early stage, Series B, not very early, Series B medical devices startup in based out of MIT. And I think that played a really amazing role. It opened up the world of early stage organizations for me. I saw very clearly the type of opportunities that exist for creating value in the organization. I saw very clearly the type of impact that such an organization creates in society, in the economy overall. The type of talent that just comes and brushes shoulders with each other, the variety of talent that comes in any larger MNC, the variety of people that you work with is by definition, because you are in a silo, is by definition limited. And all that left a very long life lasting impression on me, where I was very committed that I want to build a career and I want to spend most of my time building and scaling early stage organizations. And that would have never happened had I in the pursuit of applying and pursuing whatever 15 different opportunities, if I had ended up with a summer internship in one of them, maybe this would have never come along. So sometimes failures are just well timed and the right thing for you. And I think just the I would say that most folks brought up in India have that right attitude to just keep moving and just take any failure as just another station on the long journey.
Yeah, I think there's a saying where they say if this didn't work out, meaning something better is waiting for you.
Yeah.
So Abhinav, do you think Maninder introducing you to Ritesh was a turning point in your life?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, Shiva. And you remember turning points in your life, you remember crystal clear. And I can tell you the depth to which I remember. Maninder reached out to me on LinkedIn saying, "Hey, I just see you moved back to India. What are you up to?" And I said, "Mandy, I'm back. Let's chat over phone." And I'm looking at broadly the tech ecosystem and healthcare. So I was very focused on these two areas, and Maninder called me to chat. And when he called me, I remember that I was in Bombay. I was in Hiranandani, and I was standing. There is a market at Hiranandani, and there is a Bengal sweet shop. And I was having rasgulla standing outside that Bengal sweet shop, and I chatted with Maninder, enjoying like Bengali sweets.
Mm-hmm.
And that conversation, and basically that conversation wrapped up. I threw whatever I was eating, and I went home, packed, and pretty much like next day left for the airport.
Yeah.
And that was a life changing moment. And I think of course you have to set it up, but I was pretty much, I kept myself completely free. I was literally doing nothing. And somewhere deep down I knew that you need to explore. The process of the time that we give to exploration, the time that we give to what you say serendipity, is just diminishing, right? And I think we will all be better off if we can create more of that. And not that I'm any visionary sort of. I was just rolling with the times. But when I reflect back, of course, it was one hell of a break.
A book that changed your life. What are 1 to 3 books that have greatly influenced your life, Abhinav?
I used to read a lot more. I'll be very honest. Before OYO, at OYO, things have been
Mm-hmm.
really crazy, and I still read, and I still run into books. I think off late, of course, I think that there are more recent books. I think everyone follows Naval, and uh, I would be honest. I will be very honest. I've been deeply influenced by his writings, and especially I've gone through his book, which is less of a book and just a compilation of his thoughts. And I think such powerful concepts in life overall, communicated so simply. are really appealing, and they start, at the stage of my life I am in, they start appealing to you in more ways than one. So I think that is something which over the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years, I've been very deeply influenced by. How do I look at my life from here on? How do I look at my contributions? How do I look at my personal life and professional life coming together? I think these are continuous journeys where everyone aspires to get better every day, and that Naval's thinking and his writings have had a huge impact. I would say another book, old book, I've read it many times. Again, Siddhartha has had a huge impact on me. I think just I'm not a very philosophical person in that perspective, but I think I feel more at ease with myself and more comfortable in my skin, knowing that everything is happening for a larger purpose, and your life and your daily day-to-day struggles have to be seen in context of just um, so many other people around you, and so and the more granular you get, you feel that you are so privileged, and then the more expansive you get, you feel that you are so insignificant. And that to me has an amazing power of just keeping you very grounded, and just allowing you to focus and allowing you to just do the right thing in the right way, in the right ways, right? And yeah, so, and there have been many others. I would say that I'm not into fiction at all. I read a lot of autobiographies. To me are super inspirational. I really, in autobiographies, I call out and how people make decisions, how people go through this process and take critical decisions in life. I've been really, influenced by that, and more I study, and it's a lot about, your instincts, uh, but it is genuinely a lot about just knowing who you are, right? And that has been a huge learning for me. You will be always comfortable with decisions as long as these decisions are true to who you genuinely believe you are, right? And most often they turn out to be right because you took them knowing who you are, right? And just that itself is a superpower, knowing who you are. And that yeah, and there are tons and tons of books that just, especially autobiographies, that just drill down this point on you.
Abhinav, what keeps you going?
Well, I think I'm a very simple person, and uh, I don't need a lot that keeps me going. I love what I do. I love spending time with people right out of college because they are brimming with ideas. So that's like I would say my cup of coffee is like the 1 hour problem solving discussion that I lead, the project that I am solving, right? And that just keeps me going. What keeps me going is, I look forward to those one-on-one catch-ups where I get to learn something. You realize how outdated and what an old model you are when you do your one-on-ones and you talk about, one of my favorite questions is, how did you spend your weekend? And I really drill down and get like, really, what did you learn and what did you read? And those things are just, more often, I end up hearing something which I've never heard of. And it's just fascinating to me, how quickly the world is changing. I think I'm overall pretty curious, and I just read a lot on the internet. I don't watch TV. And pretty much, it's very, all the basics keep me going, and catching up with, I spend a lot of time catching up with old friends. I i i allocate time, catching up with young founders, for whatever it's worth, if I can help them with anything. And these are the things which keep me going, very basic pleasures which drive my curiosity and which
Curiosity.
keep me plugged in. And OYO has a lot of those opportunities still around. So yeah, it's absolutely that aspect of feeling connected with the vision and feeling connected with the challenges that lie ahead, which keeps me going specifically in the OYO context.
I mean, people know you because of OYO. What do your friends know you for?
That's an interesting question. I would say, well, friends, for your friends, you're pretty much the same person that you were in college, right? I think uh, I will confess that I have a unique, absolutely unique capability of putting myself in. Uh, I would say really embarrassing situations, and I have tons and tons of them. And then I somehow managed to scrape past those that moment or those moments, and then they leave amazing stories with me. So I have amazing stories where I've been embarrassed, and I love narrating and sharing them so that others don't make those mistakes. So I'm known as this
Yeah,
person, who has humorous stuff to relate, at his own expense. Uh,
yeah.
and yeah, and I think I'm just known as a genuine person. I work hard. I play hard. These days I exercise, but
Hmm.
otherwise, I'm usually into some sports or the other. But
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just a good
And
friend to hang around with.
yeah, and Abhinav, to wrap this off, I think we are still yet to play tennis together. We
Yes.
got to make that happen
I
soon.
know, the whole
Uh,
first wave came and went by, and the second wave is upon us, and that never happened.
Abhinav, thank you so much. Thank you so much for doing this. It means a lot to me and to a lot of people who are who are thinking about moving back to India, and this will help them a lot in thinking through their move back to India.